Hey guys, welcome to another fantasy review video. And yeah, it was a very tough round for myself once again. I scored a disappointing 1872 this week, which is just absolutely atrocious, really. And I think it's one of my lowest non-buy round scores ever. I think I just can't recall putting up such a poor score on the board. But I think overall, as a whole, I think a lot of people really struggled this week. I think 2000 would have been a very good score for most good coaches out there. And just some of the premiums were really disappointing this week, especially in defence. And some of the rookies, apart from Harry Sheasel, but yeah, some of those rookies that kind of been reliable over the last few weeks weren't great this week whatsoever. So in terms of my team, I'll do a quick review now of my team, starting in defence. And yeah, this is the area that really let me down this week, as you can see. Apart from Nick Dacos, who was an absolute star once again, it was just absolutely atrocious, that defence. James Sicily, 49, a horrible score from him, but he was more a victim of circumstance. He had a good first half, but it was just the second half where Geelong absolutely annihilated them. The ball just wasn't down his end. It was simple as that. And yeah, great to watch as a Cats fan myself, but from a fantasy perspective, wasn't great for Sicily. So yeah, forgive him for that performance. He'll be back to his normal self in the next couple of weeks. And Dacos, he was great. Very happy Nick Dacos owner. I'm just so impressed with watching him play, and I think owning him in fantasy has given me an even greater appreciation of how good of a player he is. Nick Dacos, the way his work rate's phenomenal. The way he puts himself in the position to get the ball is just second to none. So he's an absolute star. And then Brayshaw and McGrath, they were the real disappointments for me this week. Two picks that I was actually really keen on at the start of the year, and I thought they're both good players and they're both going to be reliable. That's what the main reason I bought them in, just because of their reliability. But they've been anything but. Angus Brayshaw, he just hasn't found that form that he had last year. He averaged around 100 playing the same role, but just struggling to crack even 80 in the last couple of weeks. So he's been very disappointing. And then Andy McGrath, I think I'm probably not the only one who's suffering from Andy McGrath. I think a lot of people did jump on at the start of the year, hoping or having high expectations on him, but yeah, he just hasn't delivered, I think, and yeah, he's not going to be a top 6 defender. So I think we'll have to look to trade out Andy McGrath now. And then to the rookies, Jinby and Cowan, they weren't great either. Jinby had a bit of a flat week coming off his Rising Star nomination from last round, which is probably to be expected. You'd expect that from rookies to have a few down weeks. And then Lockie Cowan, another 40 from him. That's kind of his ceiling at the moment. So we'll have to look to fix up that position soon. And then the bench, Darcy Wilmot, he was the same, 36, another low score from those rookie defenders. And then Miller Bergman was laid out, unfortunately, so that didn't help either. Onto the midfielders now, and Roy Laird as captain this week, which was very frustrating. I actually brought in Roy Laird this week as an upgrade from James Warble. Now, look, in hindsight, I probably should have known better there. Roy Laird kind of had mixed form to start off the season, but I thought since I could afford a guy like Roy Laird, and considering what he did last year, the numbers that he put up, I thought I just got to grab him. But yeah, it just didn't work out great, and that's 3 sub 100 scores, 280s and 150. So look, fair to say he hasn't fired much of a shot yet, Rory Laird, apart from that big 140 score he posted in round 2, which was one of kind of the main reasons I jumped on him. But I think for those thinking of trading him, I kind of would avoid that. I think it's a matter of time, especially once we head into those winter sort of months. I think that really suits Rory Laird's game. At the moment, the kind of the pace of the game is really quick at the moment from the first month. I think that will kind of die down over the next month or so. So I'd expect Rory Laird to recapture some of that form of last year soon. So I wouldn't trade him if I were you. And then Tim Taranto, he was great once again. Slow start in that game. I think he was on 2 points a quarter time. So definitely had a big last 3 quarters to reach that 114 score. Then Bontempelli and Davies Uniacke, they were pretty good. LDU played a great game actually. It was kind of just his tackles and marks kind of prevented him from a big score, but he still played really well. And then it was good to see Bontempelli kind of play 4 quarters this time. It's kind of been a frustrating trend over the last couple of weeks. Him kind of having a good first half, and a really poor second half. So good to see him put that together. He's kind of in Brownlow form really. Just needs to kind of translate that to fantasy scoring. And Finn Callaghan, he was pretty decent this week. I actually held on to him and traded Warple out instead, which was a good move. And yeah, he should make a little bit more cash, I think. But I think for those who have him, he's still playing that wing role. So when you can move him on to someone decent, I would look to trade him still. Then to the rookies, Ashcroft, McKenzie, and Filippo. They were pretty good. Ashcroft kind of doesn't have a huge ceiling in fantasy so far, but he'll continue to make cash, and he's a very good player. So we should see him score around that 70 to 80. So he's very reliable still. McKenzie, he's someone that we could look to move on maybe next week, I think. One more week until he kind of maxes out in price there. Then Filippo, I actually fielded Filippo this week for the first time this season. I benched Ollie Hollands and I thought I could have taken that score of 54, but I thought might as well roll the dice there, and Filippo ended up posting his highest score of the season. So that worked out really well. And then to the bench there, Hollands, he was pretty good again. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll probably look to cash him in, as he probably doesn't have too much cash to make there. Onto the rucks now, and yeah, this is an area that really threw a big curveball for me. Late Saturday afternoon, when it was confirmed that Jared Witts would be a laid out, which was kind of crazy, and I kind of had to think quickly of what I'd do. Initially, I thought I'd have a donut there, which would have been an absolute disaster, but in the end, I realised despite having made my two trades, I actually was able to edit one of my trades and bring in Ned Boyle, who was going to be the replacement ruck for Witts there, and he actually ended up scoring all right. He had a truckload of hitouts, I think 36 hitouts from memory it might have been. Didn't get too much of the ball, but yeah, just those hitouts were really good and worked well there. So it could have been a real big disaster there. Hopefully Witts is all good to go next week, but yeah, definitely well done to Moore though. That's a very good score in a time of need there. And then Rowan Marshall 107, and actually a really good score, but actually got subbed out in the last quarter just to rest him because the Saints are going so well. So yeah, it could have been a monster score there for Rowan Marshall, but for me, though, it actually helped out Ned Moore, so I wasn't too phased to see Marshall subbed out there. It actually kind of worked out well for me in the end there. And lastly, to the forward line, Josh Dunkley, he's been underwhelming, hasn't he, Josh Dunkley? Just kind of hasn't looked like that kind of Bulldogs sort of Josh Dunkley. He's kind of looked a little bit slow around the contest. Not sure if that's just kind of his new team, the sort of game style that Brisbane play. They like to get the ball forward quickly, not too much chipping it around, which is kind of not suiting him compared to what the Dogs played like last year. So, look, I think I can understand why people might look to trade him out, but a guy as good as Josh Dunkley, I just couldn't do it. So I'm just going to stick it out with him. Then Rosie and Gordon. Rosie, disappointing. He hasn't quite been fantastic, has he, to start the year? In hindsight, we probably shouldn't have started him, but yeah, interesting. I wouldn't trade him out just like Dunkley, but yeah, we want to see a lot more from Rosie, I think. And then Errol Gordon, he's very consistent, 95 from him, and that's probably his kind of range, that 95 to 100, which I think is pretty good. Yeah, we'll take that from him, I think. And then Jack Siebel, that mid-price pick, I'm very happy with him. He's just got a fantastic role for fantasy, playing as that experienced sort of halfback. The young Kangaroos kids just want to get the ball in his hands, so very happy with the pick, and yeah, it's only a round to go until he gets defender status. Then to the rookies, Harry Sheezel, another ton from him. It's just amazing what this kid has been able to achieve in his first 4 games of career footy, and yeah, he's a premium now in fantasy. He's actually the top scoring forward in fantasy, I think I heard. So yeah, he's been phenomenal, and he also, like Zeeble, gets defender status next week, so that it adds even more flexibility there. Then Cade Chandler, another 64 from him. He seems like he scores 64 every week, so he's got a very good role for fantasy. Pushes up the ground, takes a few marks. So in the next couple of weeks, though, we probably look to cash him in once he kind of maxes out in price. Then to the bench, Pedler didn't play this week from that suspension, so hopefully he gets back into that Crows side next week. Alan Davey, he was actually pretty banged up in that game, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him miss next week, I think, just to give the kid a rest, and he could be one that we look to downgrade and cash in over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So as for what my trade plans are at this stage, I think this is the most uncertain I've been around my trades so far this year. Don't really know exactly what I'm going to do yet, but at this stage I've landed on trading out Andrew McGrath. I think the time has probably come to move him on. I think I wanted to back him in, but he's just not delivering, so I'll probably look to move him on most likely. And at this stage I've tried to grab a bit of cash there and bring in Jaden Hunt. Now, he's someone that's really surprised me, actually. I wasn't keen on him at all to start this year when a lot of people did kind of raise his name during the preseason, but he's been really good. He's taking plenty of marks, playing sort of that wing sort of role, and he's still very cheap, and he's going to make plenty more cash. So I don't mind him, but still a little bit hesitant to bring him in. But I'll probably do that trade for now, and then with the second trade, I think I got to bring in Tim English. Just not owning him is absolutely painful. Watching him or watching Bulldogs games and not owning him is absolutely excruciating. Really, just seeing him, he's just basically another midfielder out there. Does kind of things that no other ruckman in the comp does. So I think Jared Witts, he probably comes back in this week, but even before this round, I was thinking of moving Witts on. I think he's probably 30 points below those kind of Brody Grundy and Tim English types. So that's probably a move that I'll definitely consider this week. But yeah, as I said, the trades are really up in the air for mine. There's plenty of options that I could have a look at, but yeah, this is how the team shapes up over after those trades. And look, I think my team, despite my ranking 31,000, which is just terrible, but I actually think my team is not too bad. It's just some of the players that I picked, some of the premium sort of players haven't been great. So I think my kind of form can turn around and I kind of build into the season, but you definitely need a lift from some of my premiums, especially in the midfield and in defence. So yeah, that's all for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all next week with another video after Gather Round.